Hello everyone and welcome back. Alex here today, and I want to present a video of 5 tips and tricks I would recommend for new players. This was a suggestion that was put into the comment section of one of my videos, and I thought this was a good idea, and I want to jump straight into this. So starting out in EVE Online, it's a great game. It's a huge game. It's a game with enormous amounts of depth, but it's also a game that can be very, very intimidating to new players, because this is not a straightforward game where you jump in and it's a very defined linear path. It can be at first, okay, because there are things such as agents and tutorials, but after a while the training wheels come off and you are on your own. So what do you do when those training wheels come off? What I'm going to present here is not necessarily tips and tricks on how to fly your ship or things like that. Well, a lot of the videos that I took a look at while preparing for this, really a lot of the advice that was offered was more, how should I say, tactical. It's things like, don't fly what you can't afford to use, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. That's great. That's how to fly your ship, and that's more tactical advice, but it's not really advice on how to approach the game. So the top 5 tips that I'm going to be giving is going to be much more broad. It's going to be much more of a broad view, larger view of EVE Online. So starting out, tip number 1, and I highly recommend this: start slow. This is a gigantic game, and while one player may have heard of all these huge alliance battles of corporations fighting each other, of intrigue, and it's all true, okay, remember, all babies have to crawl before they walk. And don't try to accelerate or circumvent, how should I say, the crawling process. You need to be able to stand on your feet and operate within the world before you can truly explore and create your own character, identity, or destiny inside EVE Online. So start slow. And one of the great things is that EVE Online and CCP has put in a lot of new tools to help facilitate that. It used to be the new player experience was you make a character and it would literally just drop you into the middle of space and here you go figure out what to do. And the vast majority of new players would quit within a few days or maybe a week or so because they just got so lost. Well, a lot of tools have been put in by CCP to help new players, or even not quite so new players, always kind of get their bearings inside the EVE Online universe. For example, the agency here. You can find new things related to combat or mining or agents or epic arts or asteroid belts. Anything you want to do or anything you might think of can be found here. So it's a great way to find content inside EVE Online when you start out. But start slow. Don't try and jump into an alliance. Try and just get your bearings inside EVE Online. So what I mean is, don't immediately jump into a player corporation. Don't immediately jump into something else. Even things such as EVE University or things like that. Spend some time just learning your character and learning your ship and learning the basics of EVE Online. If you can open up the fitting window and know what equipment to put where, whether it's a micro warp drive, what type of weaponry you should use, what kind of shielding or armor you should use, and things like that. Just having those base skills is going to be expected from every new player, no matter which corporation or alliance they go to. Make sure you get that first. You want to make those mistakes, those newbie mistakes, without anyone saying it. And it's a lot more forgiving if you just do it by yourself with cheap ships and while you're going through the tutorial agents or the first level of agents inside EVE Online. So that is tip number 1, start slow. Tip number 2, explore all your professions. EVE Online is gigantic, and while we come in with the perception of what we want a character to be or what we want to do inside EVE Online, EVE Online is so massive that there could be things you haven't even thought of that you might enjoy more, you might even be better at. So in my case, if you look at Alexandra here, she is spec'd out for combat, and she's been spec'd out for many years. That's why you see these bars so high. But she's not only done combat, she's even done, for a little while, she's done mining, she's doing science, she's done resource processing, she's done trade, she's done corporations. there's a little bit of skills everywhere. Why? Because when I started Alexander, the character here, I dabbled in a little bit of everything. And Even Line allows you to do that. You know, you could be a jack of all trades, or you could be a specialist. But for a new player, you really want to taste a little bit of everything and try a little bit of everything. Again, this starts, you know, the process of discovering who you really want to be or what you might be better at. To give one example, last year, not with this character, not with Alexander, but with a different character that I had, I started doing hauling contracts. And when I first started, I was thinking, oh my goodness, okay, you know, I'll be a space trucker, you know, Alexander out here. But actually, what I found out while doing it was actually very interesting. You know, PM contracts using, you know, operating capital, the escrow system, and things like that. Even Line became a lot richer experience for me, and I made a lot of ISK actually in a pretty short period of time. Even I was surprised at how much ISK I was making. I was actually pretty good at it, and I made mistakes. You know, I landed at, you know, I got scammed. I lost $1 billion ISK because of the Citadel scam, where I picked up a contract that ended in the Citadel, and once I did, the guy made sure I couldn't land at his Citadel anymore, and he kept the collateral. Things like that are going to happen, but I quickly recouped my losses and I made a lot more ISK on top of that. But that was me trying something that I hadn't done before. Even after many years of playing EVE Online, I learned something new. So always be willing to explore other professions. You might find something that you like. Again, that's part of starting slow. Tip number 3. Role play your character. Now I'm going to put an asterisk on this because I'm probably going to get some flack here. What I mean by role playing, I don't mean diving headlong into the lore of EVE Online. What I mean actually is that you have a vision after you kind of go through this exploration process of what you want to be in EVE Online. And of course, your character is the extension of you. So you come into EVE Online, it's like, you know what? I want to be this, or I want to be the solitary explorer. Run with that. Kind of tailor your character and your interaction in EVE Online into doing that. Okay? This leads into specialization. Again, this is after all the exploration. You might find something that you like that you didn't think of before, but you know what? It's like, okay, I've done everything. I like exploration. Let's dive into exploration. You become an explorer character, and then you can offer your services as exploration. You can become, you know, an explorer finding wormholes or things like that, and offering to sell that information to the highest bidder. It can happen. You know, some places can pay some decent ISK to find a good wormhole that's just started. So finding that type of niche for your character and role playing into that niche is a good way to build a framework of what's around your character. When I started Alexander, for example, I was like, okay, I wanted a character in the EVE Online universe that was a Caldari electronic warfare character. And that's what I did. You know, I built up all my ship skills in the Caldari ships, which at the time was down here, and then I built up my skills in electronic warfare systems, you know, and threw in some skills in the combat and damage and things like that, so I could blow away NPCs. But I focused on electronic warfare. Soon after, I joined my first alliance, ISS, to the Interstellar Starbase Syndicate and their Navy portion. When I came in, okay, there were some expectations that I could fly in a frigate at a base level, so I did pick up those skills. But I came in with the strength of, hey, I can do this. I can do electronic warfare. And from that, they said, okay, well, since you're good in that and you're kind of mediocre in other things, here, you're going to be flying Blackbirds, you're going to fly, you know, Griffins and Scorpions. And of course, during fleet engagements, I was typically the first one vaporized for two reasons. One, I was an electronic warfare ship, and number two, my name started with an A. And since a lot of fleet commanders like to list their, you know, targets alphabetically, is at the top. Now let's blow away Alexander. I've learned to stay way in the rear when that happens, or even warp in delayed into the battle, or I'd be blown away at first. But that was me role-playing a character. That was me specializing. Okay, I want a character that's a electronic warfare pilot. Okay. Then after that, I was like, okay, what ties into electronic warfare? You can start to build out from that. Well, fleet support is actually another one. So now I took a character. I was like, okay, let me specialize in battle cruisers, and I started putting in fleet support mods and leadership and, you know, shield command specialists. Next thing you know, we're out in fleet combat, and I show up with a Ferox with a command module attached, and next thing you know, everyone's shields are at a higher resistance because I came in with that specialization. And that's something that no one else had. Okay, but that was me building on top of the role-playing character that I had. So, role-play the character in the sense that you have a job that you view your character and you build on top of that job. Okay, it doesn't mean you can't switch later. You can, as always. Even Line allows you to do that. But if you can put a framework of what your character is and you build into that, you become that much stronger inside the EVE Online universe. We can't be great at everything, at least on the skills set wise. A few people are, because they've been training constantly since the game was released, but for a new character or new player, that's not going to be the case. Point number 4, and this is the important one. I would say of all of them, this is the most important. Do not use PLEX for ISK when you start out in EVE Online. If you get PLEX, you can use it for Omega time, you can use it for ship skins, but do not sell it for ISK to replace your ships. Here's the reason why. When you do that, the value of ISK suddenly has no value. Okay, and when that happens, people start to fly their ships a lot more recklessly and a lot more carefree than they should. Okay, as a new player, you want to have good flying habits. You want to recognize the value of your ship, and you don't want to lose it because you're going to have to put in the work and the hours and the time to make good on that loss should that ship blow up. PLEX short circuits that. Okay, and what a lot of players do is I'll just spend some real life money, get some PLEX, go a whole bunch of ISK, and recoup all my losses. But you're not a good pilot though. Okay, and corporations and alliances, PLEX means nothing to them. What they want is pilot skill, because if your ship blows up, doesn't matter how much ISK or PLEX you have, that alliance or that corporation is out your ship and your skills, and you are no effective if you're in a pod or dead. Okay, you want to develop good habits. Do not touch PLEX. Realize the value of ISK and only start to use ISK for PLEX, or I should say PLEX for ISK, in very, what I should call edge cases, very rarely, okay? But keep that value of ISK as you play the game. It's very important on how you approach EVE Online. Okay, even if it slows things down, even if you can't grow as fast, trust me, in the long run, it's worth it, because you'll be a much better pilot, much better appreciation for ISK and what it means in EVE Online. And when some big structure goes boom, you know how much time it took to build that structure. Okay? Last, but certainly not least, when you start out, at some point, go into nullsec, go into nullsec. Don't let lowsec or nullsec be this massive wall stopping you from experiencing the game. Go out there. You might find some interesting possibilities. Of course, a lot of people think when they jump into lowsec, there's instantly a pirate gate camp waiting for them, ready to blow them to smithereens and pod them and send them back. It could happen. That's why you're going to fly a very cheap frigate when you do it. Okay? But when you stretch out, especially as a new player, you're going to find some interesting possibilities that you won't find in Empire. For example, looking at the map here, I always stayed up here in Heimatar Metropolis of Molten Heath, and then one day I got into my ship and I went down to the Great Wildlands, and what did I discover? A great opportunity. In the Great Wildlands, there are only 3 NPC stations, and there are no player stations because it's NPC space. The alliances cannot drop a station there. So it was absolutely fertile ground for citadels, and there were several corporations, alliances trying to build citadels and get a homegrown economy going. I saw these citadels, I got docking permission, and next a big business venture started up between myself and some of these corporations and alliances in the Great Wildlands, and I made a ton of ISK. I would never have discovered that if I had just stayed in Empire space. Go out and explore, okay? The possibilities are endless, and many times, a lot of alliances, they like to see new blood come out after they blow them away, of course, and after they see that you're not on alt. You know what? More often than not, after they blow you away and they pod you and they send you back, they may put an army around you. It's like, you know what? If you had the guts to come out here, maybe you have the guts to come out a little bit more. come join our alliance, or come join our corporation, or put us join the recruiting channel. It is the best way to make contacts. Ironically enough, it's getting blown away by them. So anyways, that is my video for the quick top 5 tips and tricks in EVE Online. Start slow, don't jump in the first corporation you see. Start solo, go through the agents, learn how to fly your ship, learn how to fly and thrive inside EVE Online by yourself. Tip number 2, explore all the professions. You may find something that you enjoy that you didn't think of. Number 3, roleplay and build on top of your character. Once you have a firm image of what you want to be in EVE Online, build into that. You'll find it become a great strength. Number 4, don't use PLEX as a crutch, okay? Particularly starting out. Don't use PLEX at all until you're a very advanced character, okay? And even for advanced characters, I recommend not doing it. Okay, use PLEX for Omega Time, you can use PLEX for ship skins, you can use PLEX for anything else, but don't use PLEX for ISK, or also in a sense not short-circuiting your training time with skill boosters, at least at first. And last but not least, feel free to dive into low sec and null sec. There are a lot of opportunities there you may not see, and of course, use a cheap ship. Frigates are cheap as chips, you can fly a lot of them, and just explore. EVE is a vast and wonderful universe, and I invite you to come and spend a whole bunch of time, and you'll find a very rewarding experience that you won't find it anywhere else or in any other game. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. For new players, whether you're an alpha clone or an omega clone, feel free to take a look and explore EVE Online, and I hope you stay with us. Anyways, take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon, and fly safe. Peace out.